Well, greetings, friends, and welcome to the Gospel Underground Podcast. This is episode number 5, Show Some Love. We are broadcasting live, live for us, or for me today, from the Power of Change headquarters here in Blacksburg, Virginia. I'm your host, Reed Monahan, and I'm here today without my co-host, Jesse Fury. A little sad, but not too sad because I'm going to get to talk about Jesse today. I'll share a little bit what I mean by that in a minute when I say all sorts of nice things about my brother, Jesse Fury. Well, today I'm going to be talking about pastors. Why? Well, I've been one. I work with currently assessing, coaching, training, and supporting church planters and pastors. With my work in Power of Change, I work alongside pastors many times. I serve them, their families, and I do my best to be a deep blessing and encouragement to their ministry, their work they're doing in their local church. And by God's grace, I hope to be an encouragement to church planters and pastors. I also have pastors who give care to my own life, spiritual growth, and well-being. And my co-host here on the Gospel Underground, as I mentioned, Jesse Fury, takes us to church often, is a local church elder and pastor. Before we get into talking about what it might mean this month, October is Pastor Appreciation Month, to appreciate these guys who serve in shepherding and pastoral roles in the local church, it's time for a little reviewish.
We talk books and tech and movies and things, but don't care enough to write anything. It's not a review, we're not that into it, so sit right down, it's time for reviewish.
Well, today in our reviewish segment, that was my almost 14-year-older daughter, Kylene, who sang that little ditty for us. We were goofing off here in the shed quarters with microphones and making up ridiculous reviewish songs, and Kylene recorded that, and she sounded a little less doofus-ish. Is that a word? She sounded less goofy than I did singing that, so there you go. We may get a professional jingle done someday here on the Underground, but until then, thank you, Kylene. Today in our reviewish segment, we are going book reviewish. And in a broad way, I just want to recommend some reading for you. And in this case, I want to recommend the works of a lady named Candace Millard. Candace Millard, she writes history books that are just, they read like novels. And over the years, I've enjoyed this kind of works, the works of Roger Crowley. He talks about the Mediterranean world with, the Venetian powers and the Ottoman Empire, Habsburgs, all the wars that took place in the Middle Ages. I've certainly enjoyed the narrative history of America by David McCullough. The spy books by Ben McIntyre, check those out. Those are awesome. As well as the historical intrigue works by Eric Larson. They've been thrilling. But over the last few years, I've grown to really, really love the works of this author, Candace Millard. The first book I read was called Destiny of the Republic. It's a look at the assassination and medical treatment, actually. The medical treatment was even more interesting, of President James A. Garfield. And so this time in history was interesting to me. It was before kind of antiseptic medicine, so we didn't know really what caused infection. So president gets shot, you can't find the bullet, you just stick your fingers in there, right? No iodine, no gloves, you just go for it. And the president eventually died from a massive, basically, I don't want to get too gross, but pus cavity that formed like big as a watermelon in his body. And so the book also featured the work of Alexander Graham Bell of telephone fame, and how he tried to create certain technologies to try to find that bullet, so to speak. And so that was my first exposure to Mrs. Millard's work. And since then, I've read 2 other works by her. One called The River of Doubt that chronicled Theodore Roosevelt's journey in the Amazon basin after he was president. Crazy. And then also, most recently, a book called Hero of the Empire that focuses on the Boer War in South Africa and the early days of one Winston Churchill, who obviously became very big and very important on the world scene during his leadership of the British Empire in World War II. So that's it. Reviewish today. Candace Millard, check her out. I'll put a link in the show notes to a blog entry where you can click those. I get no portion of anything for these recommendations. They are purely for the love. All right, our main topic today, October is Pastor Appreciation Month. Some of you know this, some of you don't. Some of you aren't part of a church, so this is like, what is he talking about? But there are many things about being a pastor that I wanted to share to begin today that are positive, right? And then there are many things about being a pastor that are difficult. And mind you, I spent a dozen years of my life pastoring in a local church setting. Some positives, real quick, for pastoring. You get to see very wonderful, beautiful things of life. Really, the best passages of life and situations that you'll be a part of as a pastor. You'll see babies born right in hospital. Maybe not literally. Maybe some are there that early. I usually get there after the baby's born. You see babies dedicated to the Lord in a church setting. Weddings. You perform some weddings. Lots of electric slide, Cupid shuffle, cha-cha now, y'all. You go to a lot of wedding receptions. Wonderful, beautiful days where rejoicing is deep and people are passing through these wonderful transitions that mark our lives. In a ministry sense, you get to see people come to faith in Jesus, right? Become forgiven of their sins, begin a new life and a new journey with God. The lights come on. It's really a wonderful thing. Baptisms, amazing. You also get to see people work through deep difficulties, some marital issues perhaps, and find freedom, right, in Jesus from the things that darken and cloud our lives. There are many, many positive things related to being a pastor, but man, there is some difficult stuff. You get treated differently at times. I'll refer to another podcast here later that talks about this, of how when you walk in the room as a pastor, it's just a little different. Let's say that. People always clean up their language in the locker room, that kind of thing. Sometimes people judge you, right? Many times not knowing what's really going on or having all information about a circumstance. They might judge you and say nice things about you on Facebook. That happens. You also get to see the worst things in the human experience. People really doing destructive things to their own lives, to their marriages, to their children's. You see addictions to substances, to immorality. You see all sorts of things as a pastor. And then there's the kind of intramural glories of church infighting. And I can tell you, man, I've been treated ways internally in a church that made me to never want to be a pastor again. Not saying I won't, but there is just that side of things. And so now in my work today, as I mentioned, I'm not a pastor of a church in a traditional sense of the word, but we are members, covenant members of a local church family, namely Valley Bible Church of Radford, Virginia. Was a church plant, has a plurality, that means more than one, of elders, pastors, not just led by one kind of pastor potentate king. We think that's very good. A biblically based church wanting to love its community here in the New River Valley. So today I want to appreciate pastors in kind of a general sense, but also appreciate some in a very specific sense, because we're new members, been here a little over a year, of Valley Bible Church, and I just want to thank God for how we've been treated by our pastors. I'll never forget, I was out on a road, I think, doing a parenting conference up in Washington, D.C., and I was taking my rental car back last fall, and I got a call from Brett Johnson, one of our pastors, and I answered the phone, and I kind of went Jersey, I guess, a little bit on him, a little Northeast cultural feel probably. I said, "Hey, Brett, what do you want?" And Brett kind of got quiet for a second. He goes, "Well, I don't want anything." And I was like, "Wait a second. Here's a guy calling me, doesn't want nothing." I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." You see people calling me usually to want something. He goes, "I just wanted to see how you were doing." And I was like, hallelujah. What is this? I was super thankful, really, to see a brother just call to see how I was doing, traveling on the road, checking in on my life. And really, the word pastor in the New Testament comes from the Greek word for shepherd, looking after folk. And so Brett was just calling to see what was up. And then, of course, my co-host here on the Gospel Underground, Jesse Fury. I love his last name. I do that too often. My kids get on me for that. But Jesse's just been a friend to me as well in the past year. And obviously when we both shared our mutual desires for getting into this medium called podcasting, we kind of ran around the room and we're excited. But when I entered Valley Bible Church, first day we visited, Jesse kind of knew who I was from when I served with Athletes in Action at Virginia Tech. He was on staff with Campus Crusade, now known as Cru Global, at Radford University. He kind of knew our circles had overlapped a little bit. And so, but the funny thing was he was taking a class in ecclesiology and reading a textbook the day we visited the church. And that afternoon, I guess he read a footnote that had had my name in it. And so he was giving me a hard time in a good way about that. But what I appreciate about Valley is that they've been wonderful to our family, allowing us to connect slowly to the local church without being nervous, about my history, my past in ministry. And so they just really accepted me as a human being first, a minister second, and then certainly a growing partnership in the gospel together with my pastors. I certainly appreciate those guys. I want to say that publicly. Thanks for the way you've welcomed our family to this area, or back to this area where my two daughters were born, New River Valley. We're loving it here and grateful for it. And so pastors live that unique life. I mentioned a conversation where some brothers talk about the unique way pastors are seen. So I want to reference that. It's a podcast out of Coram Deo Church in Omaha, Nebraska, called The Wednesday Conversation. And my friends Mike Kresnick, Bob Thune, Dusty White, Chris Himmelman, I'll put this in the show notes, the link to this, so you can listen to that. Just their experience as current local church pastors, how they are treated for really mostly good, but also the kind of weird situations sometimes pastors walk in. But the most important thing that came out of that conversation, and then even out of my 12 years of pastoral experience that I want to share as clear as I can today with all you people out there on the gospel undergrounders. I think I'm going to call you guys undergrounders. It's better than undies, right? Can't call you that. I want you to show some love to pastors and maybe even give today some practical ideas for doing so. Now, a lot of this comes right out of an article that I wrote in the past year for Acts 29, church planting network that I serve, called Shaping Cultures for Ministerial Health in a Church Plant. I'll put the link in the show notes to that blog so you can read that, particularly if you're an elder of a local church. I think there's a lot of things that'll help you encourage your vocational or ministerial pastors in that article. But the ideas here, I just wanted to share, are practical, simple, and able to be lived out in a local church to bring encouragement and show some love to people who are serving in pastors. Now, look, there is a right fear of stroking the ego of a pompous, arrogant pastor, right? I'm not talking about that. There is a celebrity culture out there in them woods, right, which makes mere men and women and their gifts to ministry kind of like put up on this pedestal of ridiculousness. Now, I'm not talking about that. There should be a pause about making an unassailable monster, right? A pastor who can do no wrong because everybody kind of worships the person. I'm not talking about that. If that's the case, right, by all means, address that noise, deal with that. But yet we don't want to withhold love, appreciation, blessing, encouragement from a pastor because of those fears, right? Oh, he's going to get a big head if we love him. That's crazy, right? A pastor, right, we want to respect, honor, and love simply for the service they give. And so now there's many ways you can do this, right? But I want to say knowing your pastor, knowing his heart and what actually blesses him will go a long way to keep him encouraged. It might be money, right? Give him a bonus, give him some, a night out with his family, those kind of things. It might be that. But knowing things that your pastor and his family enjoy and love will help you be specific in the ways that you bless them, both in small ways and then maybe significant, larger ways. Here's a few examples from my time pastoring over the years. One of our elders used to drop me text messages of encouragement after a tough meeting. He just send me a text, "Hey man, be encouraged. God is at work." That kind of stuff lifts the spirit after hard meetings. One of our members, shout out to Cooper and Andrea Ford, gave us a gift certificate one time to a nicer restaurant. One of those restaurants we wouldn't go and spend $100 at when we were on vacation, right? We had members of our church help us with our kids so that Casey and I could get out on a date. This is really important if you live if your pastor and his family live really far away from family. That can happen, right? Give a little extra cash for a vacation. My wife's boss in New Jersey, Bobby Von Toon. Shout out to Von Toon Farms. Awesome. If you're looking to go visit the farm with the kids, man, check it out. Central New Jersey, Fawn Tune Farms. Bobby gave us some extra funds because he knew we were going on vacation. It was really, really kind and encouraging to him. But the most important thing, though, is to ask your pastor what actually blesses him. It may surprise you. It may not simply be getting a raise. It might be some things that go much further than a dollar can go. A few more that I've been blessed with in the past. One of our members, shout out to Joe Kerr, cut my grass for me one summer with my jacked up, dilapidated, toe up from the floor up lawnmower. I had this weed eater lawnmower for years. It was just terrible. It's the cheapest one, so I bought it, and it was just a bit crap and didn't work well. Well, when I got home, I had this amazing, like every time you pull it once, Honda lawnmower that would start on an instant, and my friend had just bought it for me because he realized I had a really, really bad lawnmower. That blessed me beyond measure. One of my elders at Jacob's Well in the past roped me into being a fan of soccer, like we call the football in our house, particularly English soccer, and he bought me one of those overpriced Adidas soccer kits. I used to call those jerseys. They're not jerseys, they're kits. I loved that. That was a blessing. Another one of our leaders, gave me Office 365 for free, for a year. Man, I tell you what, Mac people don't be hating. Office 365 is great on iOS, on Macs, on PCs, and that was really, really a blessing for me. And then one of my friends that worked on a facility issue with me for years, project there in New Jersey, gave me a couple of red screws that were used to attach a new roof on the building we had purchased. And man, I love those red screws because they don't represent simply a thing, but they represent a relationship, a time in history where we had worked hard together, and they reminded us both of God's grace to our church. All these things are in that article, Shaping a Culture of Ministerial Health. I'll put it here in the show notes. You can click over and read that. Particularly if you're an elder of a local church, I think there's some helpful things there for you to learn how to encourage your pastor. So action points. What do? Just do something, man. If you heard this, if you heard my voice today, here all the way from the POC Headquarters, do something kind and generous towards a minister in your life this month. It's mid-October. You've got half a month to get it done. Gift cards to restaurants, night out, free babysitting for a date, maybe something for their vacation, whatever it might be. Maybe it's tickets to that football game that you might have because you have access to such things. Be creative, be prayerful, but be on point and get it done. All right, this is a short episode of the Gospel Underground. We will be back in the next coming weeks. Actually, we have 2 podcasts planned and coming up. One will be next week, Lord willing, we'll produce and get in here, me and Jesse together on Take a Knee to discuss the ever-evolving tension surrounding NFL protests, certainly police brutality, equal and just treatment of peoples in America. And then what in the world is that evolving into? So we want to be helpful to that conversation, not acerbic, and certainly not just provoking more crazy, but how do we create love, grace, understanding, and conversation about issues that really matter and not divert and distract from true issues of justice while we support, maybe if you do like the NFL, I don't watch it as much anymore because I watch English Premier League football. But if you like the NFL, how do we move forward? That's coming next week. And then in 2 weeks, we'll have Wireless Mike Buer, our friend who's an electrical engineer, wireless technologist here at Virginia Tech, is going to jump on with us, and we're going to interview him about the future of technology and the things that we'll be facing ethically in terms of what it means to be human and the beauty and glory of using technology, because obviously he's in the industry. I like to plug it in, throw it around, and do it as well. So that's what's upcoming. Thanks for joining us today. And as always, thanks to Sugar and the High-Lows for allowing us to license the song See It For Yourself to use as our theme song. The Gospel Underground is a joint production of Power of Change and the Bonhoeffer House. Send your comments, feedback, questions that you might have and you might want us to take up here on the Underground to info@gospelunderground.org. Do hit us up. We'd like to hear your thoughts. We are a dialogue taking place in the borderlands between the church and culture, and we hope to see you there. Peace. Thanks, Kylene, for a reviewish. Holla.